All right, you are now tuned into the Rotated Views podcast. I am your host, Jimmylee Velez. I'm here with Heck, Gabe, Goose, and Meg. Reflexology. In this episode, the crew welcomes special guest, Meg Mautz. We cover topics that range from holistic healing, reflexology, health and wellness, effects of the coronavirus, and much more. We wrap the episode up with quotes from Sai Baba and Caroline Myss. Guys, if you're new, thank you for joining us. Don't forget to download and subscribe. We drop a new episode every Tuesday morning for your listening pleasure. Kicking things off, Meg, thank you so much for joining us. We appreciate it.
Thank you for having me.
Absolutely. So let's jump right into it. So it's titled Reflexology, and you let us know who you are and what you do.
Well, I'm a reflexologist, a certified reflexologist in Doylestown, Pennsylvania, and a practicing reflexologist since 2008. I have 5 incredible kids. Most of them are much older. I just have one left in high school. And I have 2 wonderful grandkids and 1 more on the way. So that keeps me busy.
Exciting.
And, yeah, and I've always had a passion for health and wellness since as long as I can remember, since I was a kid. And I absolutely love this work.
Yeah. So health and wellness, right? So we go through waves of information, one can say, and maybe practices that, come and go. And maybe fads, if we may, right?
Yeah.
And then it's just like, what's the next new hot thing, shiny object? But I want you to explain what you do, and it's not anything new, right?
No, reflexology has been around for 2,500 years. And yeah, it's a very old science that was discovered in Egypt, ancient Egypt, and some of the tombs of the emperors. It was also found in China. And, this was their primitive way of helping themselves get through injuries and pain and inflammation. It was a very hands-on modality to treat some of the common illnesses that we still experience today. And I always had an interest in self-healing because over the years I've struggled with, some of the very common, complaints that we've all had, chronic headache, for example. And I never liked taking Tylenol. I was never one to just pop a Tylenol to get rid of a headache. And I always was interested in how can I do it in a more natural way that's better for my body, and I'm not, wearing my liver out by trying to filter all this medication. So that's really part of what I do in my business. I do carry out reflexology sessions based on what the client is coming to me for, and I do enjoy that part of the job. But what I love just as much is teaching that individual how they can take care of themselves when these chronic issues pop up. And I'll give them a handout. I'll teach them techniques in my office that they can use at home. And people really like that. They love the idea of being able to sit in their car in traffic. And if they get neck pain, neck stiffness that just keeps creeping up, they can take care of it right there while sitting in traffic or while driving the car. Just peeling back an area on the ear to help with ear pain. It's a form of therapy that's for every age group. When you're working on young children or the elderly, it's, you're just adjusting pressure and some of the techniques, but reflexology is for everybody. And therapeutic touch is very healing in itself when it's being administered if you will, in an intentional, caring fashion. And 100% of the focus is on that person. And your mind is drifting to other things. You're 100% in with that person, which makes all the difference.
Wow. How do you, probably a deeper question than, driving into, but how do you yourself, Meg, how do you harness all that so it doesn't, weigh on you, right? Like, I think of my other brother, Miguel, who's a barber, and he gets to almost be his clients, probably the first time they get to express themselves sitting in a chair, talking to another individual. So he hears a lot of things, but he has a way, I don't know exactly what his technique is, of just not letting it be his problem, if that makes sense. It's almost like you hear so much trauma or difficulty or challenges and stories. And how do you navigate through that?
Well, and Jimmy, just as much, think of your friend, a barber, coming in to work, and he's going to be seeing clients all day. If he's having a bad day and he has something coping with it at home, how does he put that aside so he can give 100% of himself to these customers, so that they're not picking up on that bad energy, so that they have a very good experience? So what I do, if I'm struggling with something on my own or something with one of my family members and I'm stressed or I'm upset about it, I call it the box technique. And I compartmentalize, and I've done this my entire life.
Yeah.
And what I do is I just say, okay, this is really stressful. It's got me all worked up. My stomach's bothering me because I'm so stressed out, but I know I have a big client. So I put it in a box, wrap it up, put it in a box, and I put it on a shelf, and I don't ignore it. I just say to myself, I know what's in that box and I have to deal with it after work, and I'll deal with it fully, but not until I finish my job. And in that way, when I mentally put it in a box, I know I still have a responsibility to that, to deal with those feelings or deal with whatever the issue is, but not now, because right now I have to give 100%. But when a client has an awful lot that they're unloading, I kind of visualize, like mirrors, and it just sort of bounces off. I'm hearing you, I'm listening very sympathetically, and I give all my attention, but I try not to let it go around and around too much. I let them express what it is that they need to express. And then I try to bring them back ultimately to their breath. I do some breathing techniques with them to, bring that energy down so that they're not all worked up. And everybody that I've ever worked with is very receptive to that.
I love that. So you mentioned earlier you've been around health and wellness your whole life, but can you just walk us through how in 2008 and beyond and Meg's Reflexology came together? How did you bring it all in, life's work worth, and make it happen?
Well, as I mentioned, I have 5 fabulous kids. 2 of them have type 1 diabetes, and both acquired it at a very young age. My one son was an infant, and my other son was a toddler.
Wow.
That was a lot to manage. Insulin shots and checking blood sugars and making sure they're eating the right food. And I had started reading more about in Europe how they can complement traditional medicine to help a type 1 diabetic. And one of the therapies that just kept coming up in all the literature was reflexology, because it's non-invasive and it's something that can be done anywhere. And it's a way to decrease inflammation in the body by applying pressure on neurovascular points on the face, the scalp, the hands, the feet, the ears, to help regulate the blood sugar, help with digestive processes, and help to stave off those long-term complications with diabetes, blindness, neuropathy, numbness. There's a whole laundry list of things that can happen when the blood sugar is not regulated, if it's not monitored, and if you're not following, a proper eating plan, if you have type 1. So that was my goal. what can I do to help these two little ones live the best life they can, so that I could do at home for them. So I found a reflexology school not far from my home. And at the time I was working in autistic support for my local school district. So I would work during the day and then study at night and go to school on the weekends so that I could learn this valuable method. And I started using it on my children. And I know it brought them a lot of comfort. It still does, to have that therapeutic touch and just to keep those uric acid crystals down, which causes so much inflammation. That was my reason for wanting to study this, was for the kids. And then after I completed all my case studies for school, I had to work on neighbors and friends and family. And people just kept encouraging me, and they would report back that they felt so much relief from whatever the condition was. And they encouraged me to launch this into a business. So after I completed school, I was still working in the school district. So I would work at school and then meet my clients after school and on the weekends. And I did that all up until November 1st of 21. And I made the jump. I decided I'm going to jump into this full time now and actually do what I've been dreaming of doing all these years. 14 years I've been wanting to do this full time, and here I am. So I just feel like it's a real gift that I'm able to serve more people now and help more people. It's great.
Absolutely. So in saying that, what are some of the services one can get at Meg's Reflexology?
So people can get the traditional foot reflexology, hand reflexology. They can get a Tibetan head, neck, shoulder therapy, relieving headaches, muscle tension, limited range of motion in the shoulders and neck, actually working on the scalp itself, taps into all the muscles, all the joints, all the bones of the body. So even if you have rotator cuff issues or a frozen shoulder, I can access it right on the scalp. Japanese face reflexology, which is a very deep therapy on the face, using a little bit of oil on the face, so face oil, helps with Bell's palsy, recovery from a stroke, people with fibromyalgia, Parkinson's, depression, anxiety, PTSD, bipolar, face reflexology, just a general face reflexology to help with hormonal imbalances and digestive issues. Ear candling, people will come in for ear candling to get rid of the excessive wax. So yeah, there's a variety of different therapies that we can do.
Now, does one enter or reach out to you for a consultation, and then maybe you make a recommendation, or is it kind of both, a collaboration?
About half the people will go ahead and just schedule online, and then we'll talk, and they'll fill out a health history form.
Okay.
We'll spend 10 minutes talking, and I'll get to know them and find out, besides the physicality of what their symptoms are, what's going on emotionally with them, so that I can incorporate different techniques to address as many of the issues that they're bringing to me that I can. And then there's other people that just call me and they'll want to talk about what they're struggling with. And I'll talk to them on the phone for a while, and then they make an appointment, and then they fill out their health history form.
Okay.
The people really want to be listened to.
Mm-hmm. I love it. So explain a little bit about obviously your passion, your story behind everything, but explain a little bit more the importance of holistic healing. You mentioned it earlier, with not wanting to take, particular medications or anything, or prescriptions when you get a headache. Just explain the importance of holistic healing, and then maybe relate to it to, maybe the business end of things, and why this is probably a better, solution than, some of the other suggestions out there.
I feel like a lot of people, over the years have been inundated with so much information overload that you almost feel like, you have to turn to somebody or something to help you feel better. But what I like to offer is you have everything you need to help yourself. I'm not saying that you shouldn't go see a doctor, but if you have a common headache, or if you have a neck ache, or your back hurts, let's try something holistic, something that you could do for yourself at home, and see if it resolves on its own, instead of being so quick to jump to putting a pill in your mouth. I really do enjoy that aspect of it, of teaching people, those different techniques to help themselves. But I really, I do encourage people to just try to follow a healthy lifestyle, but, go to bed at the same time every day, and turn off the phone an hour before you go to sleep, and turn off the volume. So if it pings, you're not going to go look at it in the middle of the night. And, trying to eat more alkaline foods and not so much acidic foods. I'm not a nutritionist, but I am taking a class right now in lifestyle coaching for Hippocrates Health Institute down in Tampa. And it's all about eating a more raw, a more healthy diet, less meat, less acid, more alkaline. And the more alkaline your blood, the healthier we are. So I like to factor in, all these different viewpoints to help support a healthy lifestyle.
Absolutely. So can you explain what is restorative treatment and why it's important?
So restorative reflexology would really be more of getting the individual into a parasympathetic phase, which is your rest and repair phase. When people come in and they talk about what it is they're struggling with, and they get worked up just talking about it, I like to access the vagus nerve in the body, just level things out so that they can rest. Most people do go to sleep within 15 minutes of my work on them. You almost can't help it but to go to sleep. And once that body is in that beautiful parasympathetic phase, your body's more open to healing and working out uric acid deposits and congestion that I can feel under my thumbs. Once I'm working all that out, and the body is able to regulate itself and get more blood circulation flowing, lymphatic drainage, you're bringing your body more into a more harmony, homeostasis, which is what it's always striving for. So can you explain a little bit of how uric acid deposits happen? Sure. So medications over the counter, prescription medications contribute. They're called high purine elements. So high purine elements could be prescription over the counter meds. It could be insecticides that we're breathing in. It could be shellfish of any kind, red meat, organ meat, smoked meat, jerky, alcohol. Believe it or not, cauliflower, asparagus, spinach in high amounts create more uric acid. So those high purine elements, when there's a buildup of them in the liver, when your body goes to digest them, they start to crystallize and it turns into uric acid crystals, and they settle down into the nerve roots. If you've heard of gout, which is an arthritic condition in the joint, typically it's in the big toe or the elbows or the knees. Under a microscope, uric acid crystals look like shards of glass. So it's painful. And if uric acid isn't treated, it can lead to a whole host of issues. Diabetes is one of them. Issues with your kidney, developing kidney stones, circulatory problems. You you really want to eliminate as much high purine foods in one sitting at a meal. And for an example, I had a client last summer, I'll never forget it. She came to me, she's a regular client. She came in limping, her toe was all inflamed. And I said, what did you eat last night? What did you eat? She went to a clam bake and threw back a few beers with dozens of clams. So she had beer and clams. So her body was assaulted with so much high purine food. Her liver just couldn't possibly filter all that out. And it all settled down in her big toe.
Wow.
So it's not that you can never have, alcohol and meat and, shrimp cocktail and clams. It's just, I tell people, I always suggest kind of space it out. Have your crab cake and then an hour later have a beer. Just don't have everything at once. Give your body time, drink water. How about that? There's an idea. Drink some water in between a beer. Just dilute it so that you're giving your body a chance to filter it out, process it, so that you don't end up with that kind of pain and inflammation.
Absolutely. So before we started our call, we're talking about pressure points. I started coughing. So can you explain that? Obviously there's a science to it, but is there something, maybe a tip or two we can use when it comes to quote pressure points or stay away from?
Sure. So think of your central nervous system as the wiring in your house. When one of your lamps starts to flicker, you get what's called like a brownout. There's some sort of interference on that electrical line. So our electrical lines that are in our spinal cord and our brain that reach out to all the areas of the body, all the organs, the bones, the glands, everything is connected to a nerve root. Sometimes those nerve roots become congested with uric acid, and pain results, inflammation. There could be a digestive upset. So here's an example. When you put your finger between your eyebrows, this point, the minute I put one finger right here, that immediately sends a message to my cerebral cortex. Just that stimulation goes to the cerebral cortex, and it knows that this is connected to my brain and my neck. So holding just this spot activates that nerve impulse. So if I wanted to continue to work on, say, neck pain, I would put my books up on my desk or my table, and I'd rest my elbows here so I don't have to hold my arms up. And I would take two index fingers, and I would bring them together and pull them apart. And I would do some horizontal movements with some moderate pressure. And then I would go in a horizontal motion. Just this movement right here helps to relieve headache, neck tension, anything going on in the head, twitching eye. This point is connected to the areas of the brain and of the neck. Another one that you could do, this is very common with people now working from home on computers, is another neck area would again to be supporting your elbow on the table and putting your thumb behind your ear and your index finger right where that curled part of the cartilage is. Just realized I don't have my my light on. I think that might help. There we go. So peeling back, this is called your pinna. Do you see this curled part of your ear?
Yeah.
These little tiny nerve endings are all connected to the sternocleidomastoid muscle. So when you put your thumb back here and your index finger and you peel this back, again, you're supporting the elbow, you're peeling it back pretty vigorously. You're not doing this gently, vigorously for about 30 seconds to a minute. And at first it might be a little stiff. There's not a lot of blood flow in the cartilage. So as you work it, it'll become more malleable. It'll feel like almost like a piece of clay because the blood will rush in. So peeling this back and then do the other side. just peeling back the pinna, peeling it back. And then after a minute, the rotation, flexion, extension is amazing. And it's so easy. I do it in my car. If I get a little kink in my neck, I roll down the window, I put my elbow on the door jamb, and I just start peeling back. It's amazing how great your neck feels just by doing something so simple. And as soon as you do it, you know, those nerve endings go straight to the neck. They're all connected.
I love it. So if someone was interested in finding out additional techniques, what would your recommendation be? You know, is there particular books, videos, webinars, or?
There's wonderful books out there on reflexology. You know, just making sure that it's written by a certified or licensed reflexologist. A lot of brilliant reflexologists are in Europe that you can easily access. I have a YouTube channel that you can also go on, Meg's Reflexology. And during the pandemic, I had some companies hire me to teach caregivers, people that were working in nursing homes, how to manage their stress with being overworked. So they're short little 1-2 minute videos on 3 ways to get rid of a headache, or 3 ways to help with insomnia. Short videos. And I'm still doing Zoom presentations for companies for support groups, people that can't meet in person, but they just need help with sleep or depression. So if you're really looking to get more information, you know, just do your research and make sure it's a reputable organization that you're getting your information from.
What is your, just to switch gears a little bit here, what is your recommendation for, you know, like everyone has stress in their life or stressors in their life, right? What happens though, or what's your recommendation to someone whose job or just life is a very high demanding, stressful job for the majority of the day? So you're on, let's just say, like, with a lot of pressure, unpredictable things too that can happen. I mean, or just anyone who's just dealing with a lot on a daily basis. What's your recommendation?
As often as you can, get outside. That's number one. Try to get outside. If even better, earth walking is it's been a very popular practice to get rid of inflammation, pain, stress, sleep disturbances, helping with inflammation in the body. And all you're doing is you're taking your shoes off, put your feet, if you're working from home and you're close enough to your Wi-Fi and you could stand outside in the grass, get your feet planted in the earth and let the earth's natural negative ions just pull from your feet, pull from your body. You feel so good just standing on stone or grass, even dirt or sand down at the beach. Do you ever notice how good you feel when Absolutely. You're near the ocean and your feet are in the sand? Your body feels so good. No one complains of a backache on the beach, right?
Right.
Right? So that, I would say, if you have a lot of stress, get outside, even to take a quick 10-minute breather. If you can step outside of your office, if you have a lunch break, get outside, breathe in the air, get the vitamin D. If you can, do it where your coworkers won't make fun of you and you can get your feet flat in the grass, do it. Even after work, that's a great way to prepare for sleep. Now that the temperatures are getting nice, get your bare feet out in the grass.
Absolutely.
And stick to a routine. Go to bed at the same time. If you're getting enough rest, you're not so hard on yourself, just be easy on yourself and slow down a little bit. And that's hard. It's so hard for some people to do that, but just pause a little bit and don't be so quick to jump to the next thing. Give your body time to process what you're doing before you pivot to the next thing that's being demanded of you.
I love it. Gentlemen, does anyone have any questions for Meg?
No, I'm good.
I don't have any questions. I'm just amazed that there's like, they have so much medicine out there for all these issues, but you can deal with them yourself rather than, like you said, taking medicines and stuff like that. I'm just amazed that there's not much more out there for people to do this. I guess people choose the easy route, right?
People usually do, or they just don't know.
Mhm.
And it's not,
Right.
and I've had, that's a good comment that you made, because I've had clients say to me, okay, so in the last month since you've been working on me, my anxiety's gone way down. I think I'll stop taking my medication. And I say, no, don't stop taking your medication. So what I tell them is talk to your doctor about what we're doing here and, move from there. But I never recommend people stop medication, but it is a wonderful add-on modality to Western medicine. And I think sometimes that's what, in the past, what has turned some people from the medical community off about holistic healing is sometimes it's the interpretation or the assumption that holistic therapy is to replace Western medicine. It isn't. It's just meant to complement. It's all it is.
Right.
We don't diagnose. We just want to help guide you to a healthier lifestyle. And if there's some things you could do that I can teach you on your own, wonderful.
Right.
Yeah.
Awesome.
I love it. So Meg, there's obviously we're in the middle of this pandemic, and I was just curious, when you opened doors full time, was in 2021. How did you find yourself navigating through the pandemic? Did it increase business? Kind of just stay the same? Less? Just how did it all pan out for you?
Well, when the pandemic first started, I instead of working in the school, we were all told to go home and work from home. So I was, doing my job for the school district and doing a lot of classes and trainings online, not working with students. And of course I had to close my business for 4 months. But then when I reopened, I still do follow the CDC guidelines of making sure I'm sanitizing, I'm, wearing a mask, clients wearing masks, doing a temperature scan. Now, and people, started to slowly come back because they needed the therapy. There wasn't a big rush to come back. People were very hesitant, but now, I've really seen since September, people really want to get back to what they're used to, and we do it safely. They're looking more for techniques they can use at home for their kids, because this pandemic has had such an effect on the mental health of all students of all ages. And parents especially love to bring in their teenager or their elementary school kid or even their college student to have me work on them and then teach them, what can you do to help yourself when I'm not with you? So that just seems to be what more people are interested in now.
Mm-hmm.
Learning, what can they do? It's very empowering when you can help yourself.
Mm-hmm.
It is, absolutely. I'm curious, Meg. I have and my brothers as well. We all have children. I have an 8-year-old and soon to be 4-year-old. Is there anything we could be doing with our kids with reflexology? Just out of curiosity, my son plays multiple sports, and growing up, me and my brothers played a bunch of sports, but I don't think this topic ever came up to quote, be careful outside of, make sure you stretch. And that was about as the extent.
Well, the fact that sports is playing outside, it's great to see kids outside.
Mm-hmm.
Be out as you can. But establishing a good, solid bedtime routine to slow things down, an hour and a half before you're supposed to go to bed, and make sure they're going to bed at the same time. Slowing it down. One of the great things to continue to build that bond, to strengthen that bond between you and your child, is by giving them a therapeutic touch. And one thing you could do to help with sleep is, if your child is laying on the couch and their head is on the arm of the couch, you could pull up a chair and you could pull the chair up right to the arm of the couch with their head right in front of you. And if you take your long fingers and place them at the base of the earlobe, and you do one stroke up to where the top of the ear attaches to the scalp, and you do 15 passes, it's a beautiful way to get their body ready for sleep. It's very calming. So it's going up one.
I know what I'm doing tonight.
Up 3, down 4, up 5, down 6, and you stop at 15, because you're stimulating the amygdala gland in the brain, which is part of the limbic system. It's going to help to calm. Stop at 15, just hold, and then let go. You're not putting a lot of pressure, but it's firm rhythmic pressure. That's one. The other one you could do on your child, you could do it on yourself, is do figure eights right here. Figure eights with one finger on the forehead from between the eyebrows up to the hairline. You're going to do 8 figure eights this way, and then go down to the tip of the nose, and you're doing 8 small figure eights this way, and you're stopping between the eyebrows. So you're starting with the big ones and finished with the small number 8s. Very calming and balancing the left and right hemisphere of the brain. And it's great because then you're performing this for your child. So your child's receiving something very loving and caring from you, but then you're teaching them, okay, this is something I could do on myself. You know, you lay in bed, you put a pillow on your chest to support your elbows, and you could do it on yourself.
That's awesome.
Yeah, I have 5 children myself, so I
Yeah,
I can relate. Make sure they got to go to bed on time.
Go to bed. Yeah, go to bed on time.
Yeah, do
Yeah.
8 figure eights 5 times.
Absolutely.
By the time
So
I
is
go to bed, it's midnight.
You know,
So
I had something happen at the hair salon where I get my hair cut. They asked me to do reflexology on some of the customers. And at the end of the day, this was last week, this mother brought in this adorable 4-year-old who was autistic and never had a haircut. His hair was down to here. He was petrified, screaming, crying. And I asked the mom, can I just hold right here in the middle of his hands? And sure enough, he really was calming down. He was still crying, but he could feel that is a therapeutic touch. Just right there. Yes, it helps with cough when you've got an allergic cough or a bronchial cough, but it's also great to get rid of hiccups. Very calming your solar plexus point. So just when someone's upset, that's a good one to hold.
Just pressure point with your thumb. Just pressure it with your thumb.
Well,
That's it.
Find it on your own hand is you take your middle finger and you see where it lands. And mine's landing.
Okay.
Right. So then I put my thumb right where that finger landed and I just hold it.
Okay. All right.
Hold it.
Because my daughter has like this cough that, you know, it's allergic. It's from like allergies and stuff like that, and it's nonstop. And we're trying to
And do
calm
this.
it down. We don't know what else to do. So I'm
Do this too, right over the chest lung area. Just do a nice sweep
wow.
all the way across, okay? If she's got
Okay. Wait, does it matter which hand it's on?
no, and then the other thing, since you're bringing it up, this will help boost the immune system when she's going through this. So your thymus gland is a big, when you're a child, it's a big juicy gland behind your sternum, and when you're small, it's like a big juicy grape. But as you get older, it becomes like a shriveled up prune. So to activate, take your fist, this part, not the knuckle, this part, and thump. It's called thumping your thymus, and you could hear it. I'm not going gentle on myself. I'm doing a pretty firm knock, right? On a child, a small child, it's fingertips, or the elderly, it's the fingertips, or on a baby, it's even lighter, but it activates that thymus gland. That would be really helpful. How old is she? 8?
She's 8. Yes. She's 8.
So stick with the fingertips, but for an adult, you could do the.
Okay. The caveman.
Well, that's what the gorillas do, you know, when they feel like they have to defend their pod, they get their thymus, right? That's what they do. That's a very natural way to get themselves ready.
Oh, wow.
Boost that immune. So many things we take from nature. and it works.
Yeah, absolutely.
I love it. So Meg, anything we should be on the lookout? Anything coming up in the next year or so, or goals you want to hit, or things you would look forward to for?
I'm so excited. I'm taking a class on tinnitus, ringing in the ears.
Wow. Yes.
And so many people suffer from it. So I'm doing that class online with one of my favorite instructors, Lona Sorensen in Barcelona, and I'm also taking a class with her in Temprana therapy, and I'm really excited about it because it's a class that teaches me how to hold classes for parents. I could do one-on-one, I could do small groups to help parents help their children with reflexology who have learning disabilities.
Wow.
Not just small children, it could be an adult child. It could be someone who is struggling with PTSD. So it's really designed to teach the parent or a caregiver how to help that individual every day. So that I'm super excited about. I can't wait to finish it.
That's awesome.
Awesome.
How do you manage the work-life balance, right? I bring this up all the time as a general question, but I kind of want to hone it in for you because of what your expertise is in. It's like my brother, we always say, my brother up there at the top, Miguel, who joined us a little later, he can't help but look at haircuts because that's what he does. And so you see someone on TV and, can appreciate the style, X, Y, and Z. And I remember, I think she's still around, the woman from Long Island Medium, I believe it was called. But anyway, so, and obviously it's totally different, things here, but she couldn't help, obviously it was like a thing to experience what she was going through and basically, quote, work per se, not necessarily know she was charging anyone, but how do you go about with, is it just a mixture of this is a lifestyle and it's just who you are and what you do? Do you shut it off, turn it back on? How do you keep that balance?
Yeah, there's no shutting it off. It's just part of who I am. And if I'm out and about, and someone has a nosebleed, I'll show them the point for that. Or, of course I tell them what I do and I ask them, would you like to learn a way to help with that? Would you be interested in, if I'm at I don't know, if I'm at an event, and I'm out with my girlfriends and, someone has this twitching eye, I could pull that person aside and say, I couldn't help but to notice, would you like to know how you can help yourself with that? And everyone wants to know, of course. I love helping people feel better. I love it. Yeah. And I love to share it. And I can't just turn it off. But when I'm with a lot of people and I'm helping a lot of people, like today, I volunteer my time on Mondays at a place called Kin Wellness. And it's a wellness center for folks going through cancer treatments, and they don't pay anything. All the practitioners, we all donate our time and services. So, but when I'm done, I'm tired because, you're taking on a lot by what people are going through, because I'm a very empathetic person. So, I have to sleep. Like tonight, I'm going to crash. And, as long as I'm getting enough sleep and I'm drinking a ton of water and I'm, eating right, and I'm, not denying myself of something that I know is going to make me feel more balanced, than I don't. If I feel like, I have to extend my yoga time, then I do it. I just make sure I'm putting into place what I have to do so I could be my best for my husband and my kids and my grandkids and my clients. So it is just part of my lifestyle, and I'm okay with that.
Absolutely. So one really random thought that just came to my mind, I'll just throw it out there. Can any of these techniques be applied to our pets if we have a dog or cat?
Yes, dogs and cats have very specific paw maps that you work on the pads themselves and in between the pads. Just like with our fingers, we would work up our fingers for joint relief. We do the same thing, even though they don't have long pads, they have round ones. You work around the pads. But what's really cool, cats and dogs love this. If you dip your finger in chicken broth or beef broth and you use that on their toes, first of all, they will have no problem having you touch their paws.
Yeah.
They lick a pleasurable thing for them to lick it, and they're licking your fingers and they don't mind. But I always caution people, if your dog or cat isn't used to you touching them, you can't just dive right in. You just have to hold their hand, hold their paw, just gently rest your fingers or your palm on them. And gradually they'll get desensitized. They'll get used to you touching. And then you introduce the beef broth or chicken broth or even tuna water, like an open can of tuna, just the water from the tuna. They just love it. And it's so good, especially for dogs with hip dysplasia, dogs with seizures. It's so helpful. And you don't spend a whole lot of time. It's a couple minutes and you do it a couple times a day. And I have apps for that too. So you can email me and I can send that to you.
That is awesome. I love it. So I like to ask, final question on our end to all of our guests. We have listeners from all backgrounds, and somebody is out there listening to you, and you're directly inspiring them through your story and your life's mission. What would you say to the person who is on the fence of taking that leap, maybe that you took maybe a year ago, to live out their dreams? Any tips or suggestions or words of wisdom?
I'd have to say that if you have a burning desire, like I've had, a vision that I just can't stop thinking about, it just keeps coming up, it keeps coming up. Trust yourself that that's where you're being leaded. That's where you're being guided. And if it's a clear goal that you've worked out and you really believe that this is something that will fulfill you, go for it. Mm-hmm. Try not to listen to the naysayers, the people that say it's not, you're not gonna be able to do this. You're not gonna get enough people. You're not gonna be able to run this. Try to put that aside and almost take it on as a challenge. I'm one of those people that if someone tells me I can't do something, I almost feel like saying thank you, because that's the motivation I needed, because I can't prove you wrong. Mm-hmm. Take on that attitude and surround yourself with other people who are like-minded and people that support you, and just stay the course. Just stay, even when it gets tough, stay the course. There's this great book that I'm almost done reading. It's called Relax into Wealth with Alan Cohen. It's a great book to help you pivot during adversity, or when maybe business isn't so good. Great ideas from other high achievers on how they work their way through it and stayed calm and trust that it is going to work out. People want to see you succeed, and people want to help you. So when you have confidence and you got strong convictions on what it is that you believe that you can do, people feel that and they want to help you. Just do it.
I love it. Wonderful. Awesome. Thank you for that. So if folks wanted to reach out to you, your services, what's the best way they can reach you on social media, websites, what have you?
They can contact me on Facebook, Meg's Reflexology. They can contact me on Instagram, megs.reflexology. My website is megsreflexology.com. You can go right to my website and you can schedule right there, or you can call me and you can find out more about what I do.
I love it, Meg. Is there anything that's maybe sitting on your heart that you wanted to say today, or Any topic that we may have missed?
I just think with everything going on in the world, just know that everyone is going through something. And be patient with yourself and try to be patient with other people. And if someone is cutting you off on the highway as you're driving into work, just send them love and be patient, because everyone's going through something. So if we can just all try to take a deep breath and pause and just slow it down a little bit. That's it.
That's awesome.
So we like to wrap things up with quotes, and the first one is by Sai Baba. Love one another and help others to rise to the higher levels simply by pouring out love. Love is infectious and the greatest healing energy. And the second one by Caroline Myss. The soul always knows what to do to heal itself. The challenge is to silence the mind. Reflexology. In this episode, the crew welcomes special guest Meg Mautz. We cover topics that range from holistic healing, reflexology, health and wellness, effects of the coronavirus, and much more. We wrap the episode up with quotes from Sai Baba and Caroline Myss.
Awesome. Guys, thanks again for joining us. The Rotated Views podcast was produced for self-development purposes. Huge shout out to our sponsors. This episode is brought to you by the Blessed Lifestyle brand. That is BL3SSED.com. Also sponsored by The Motivation Files Unleashed. This motivational mixtape will be your fuel for success. Available on all platforms. Guys, don't forget to visit the website, JimmyleeVelez.com. Follow us on Facebook and Instagram at Rotated Views. If you have any inquiries or questions, email us at info@JimmyleeVelez.com. On behalf of myself and the rest of the crew, we wish you massive success. Stay blessed.